Hi, my name is Jodi Tolman, and I am the Community Sales Director at Whitney Place at Sharon. We are a senior living community providing care to folks living with memory impairment, to folks who just need a little assistance with daily life, and we are a very vibrant community. I am an expert in senior living, having spent more than 10 years in the field. And my objective for our time together today is to sort of bust some myths. There are many, many misconceptions out there about senior living. And I really love to disabuse people of their misconceptions about senior living. And so that's really what this is all about today. I want to give you a good overview of senior living and what it's all about. And we'll talk about all the facets of senior living that I really would like you to know about and be well informed and educated about. So that's my goal for our time together today. I would like to give you, so I don't forget, my contact information so that you can reach out to me at any time with any questions you may have or concerns that you may have. I also have a wonderful and lengthy list of the most important questions to ask as you or a loved one may be looking into senior living. So if you might like to have that list of questions, simply reach out to me and I will get it to you. So my email address is T like Tom, OLMAN, at salmon, like the fish, health.com. Tolman at salmonhealth.com. My phone, and you can feel free to call me, is 339-364-0138. So I will be referring to some notes as we are chatting. So what is senior living? Senior living consists of different things. There are several what are called care levels in senior living. There is independent living, which is for folks who need no assistance with activities of daily life whatsoever. They are 100% independent and live in a senior living community just as they would live in their home. And we'll talk a little bit about why independent folks go into senior living communities. And by the way, it's interesting to know that we are seeing folks go into senior living communities at younger and younger ages, which I find pretty fascinating, and we'll talk about why that is. So there's independent living. There is what is called assisted living. Assisted living is designed to assist folks who need support with activities of daily living that you may also sometimes hear referred to as ADLs. Activities of daily living have to do with meal preparation and good nutrition, with personal hygiene, with showering and dressing, perhaps medication management, perhaps ambulation, perhaps being escorted from point A to point B. They still live a very independent life with a great deal of autonomy and control, but they benefit from some support on a daily basis. Memory care. There are many senior living communities that have dedicated neighborhoods, as we call them, within the larger community that are designed to meet the needs of folks living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. So in general, that is called memory care. There is skilled nursing. Skilled nursing provides for a much higher level of care for folks who either need to be in that medical setting on a short-term basis or in the long term. So they're sometimes referred to as SNFs, skilled nursing facilities. They're sometimes referred to as nursing homes, but the main difference between a skilled nursing facility and assisted living is that skilled nursing is a medical setting. It's a clinical setting, and it provides, as I say, for folks who have a higher acuity, a higher need. So those are the four basic components of senior living. When is the time right, or when do people begin to think about senior living? And there are lots of different factors that play into a decision. So as I said, lots of folks are coming into senior living at younger and younger ages because they want a carefree, maintenance-free lifestyle. They no longer want to be saddled with the burden of maintaining their home. And they want to be in a community that provides for those various levels of care. So they want to move once, and they want to know that as their care needs change over time, their care needs can be met. Folks who are considering assisted living are at various stages of need. One myth that I love to bust, and quite frankly, if you leave this our time together today with nothing else, I would love you to know that assisted living is not something you want to wait until there's a crisis to avail yourself of. So that was a fairly awkward sentence, but what the message is that you do not want to wait until you must move because you can no longer care for yourself at home. You want to be much more proactive. You want to begin to do your homework and your research at any time, even if you have no plans of moving into a senior living community anytime soon. You want to educate yourself and know what's out there. And most importantly, you want to bust whatever myths you might have in your own head about what senior living is. Many people think that senior living is a horrible nursing home where, and hopefully you won't mind my directness, where people go to wait to die. That's what nursing homes used to be 25, 30 years ago. That is nowhere near what senior living is like today. Senior living can be an absolutely fabulous, stimulating, fun, engaging lifestyle. And many folks who wait for a crisis almost invariably will say, why on earth did I wait? I had that experience with my own dad. And you also want to be able to take advantage of the lifestyle. And as I say, it's a pretty spectacular lifestyle. You don't want to move into a senior living community when you can't enjoy all of the benefits that it has to offer. So that's something I really want you to keep in mind as you start to think about when you might be ready. When is memory care needed? Memory care is a highly specialized environment. And as I say, it is designed to meet the needs of folks living with dementia. So we do have folks who are joining in via Zoom, and we may have them join us periodically. So welcome, whoever you are. So we were talking about when is the right time for a senior or a loved one to consider memory care. If a person, most importantly, is no longer safe at home, if they may be leaving the house for any reason and not know why they're leaving, where they're going, and how they will get back, that's a very dangerous situation. That is absolutely a person who is at risk. If a person is understimulated, anyone, whether they're suffering from, or I should say living with dementia or not, anyone who is underengaged, understimulated, undersocialized that is a person at risk, because that can create all kinds of declines in one's health and well-being, not just cognitively, but physically as well. So, but certainly if a person with memory concerns, memory challenges, is at home alone and very much understimulated, that's a wonderful time to think about a senior living community. By the way, for those who have joined us on Zoom, we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. We'll not interrupt the presentation for questions. It'll be logistically much easier to leave that till the end, and I'll be very happy to answer your questions. A very common question is, can I live in an assisted living community, in a senior living community, if I'm forgetful? If I'm a little forgetful, can I? And the answer is absolutely. Many people are living in assisted living communities, not in a memory care neighborhood, or maybe even in independent living communities that have some degree of forgetfulness. And as long as they can be safe and engage in the lifestyle, then that's perfectly fine. Many people are unaware of the difference in financial models in senior living. There are some communities that are called entry fee communities, and some that are monthly fee communities. An entry fee community is also referred to as a buy-in, and that is when a resident will pay an entry fee. It can be a fairly high amount of, a large amount of money, anywhere from $150,000 to sometimes over $1 million, depending on the community. That entry fee is refundable when the resident leaves the community. So either they or their heirs will receive some percentage of their entry fee back at a certain time. And different communities function differently with respect to the criteria for making that, issuing that refund. And as I mentioned, the list of questions that I have really helps you navigate these different topics when you are talking to a specific community, or you may be visiting or touring a specific community. So not only do you want to know how much is the entry fee, but what are the parameters around the refund? How long does it typically take to receive that refund? And what are the criteria upon which that refund is issued? In addition to the entry fee, a resident will pay a monthly fee, which covers services and amenities. So that's, loosely speaking, the structure, the financial structure in an entry fee community. A monthly fee community works very differently. So Whitney Place, for example, is a monthly fee community, which simply means that there is no large outlay of monies when you enter that community. You'll pay a small community fee. We call it an assessment fee at Whitney Place. It is refundable if a person ends up not moving into the community, but it covers the costs of conducting an assessment, and I'll talk about that as well. And the monthly fee differs from community to community with respect to what does it cover. So Whitney Place, for example, is an all-inclusive monthly fee. So everything is included in the monthly fee, and I'll run down what constitutes everything. There are other communities that charge a monthly fee and also have ancillary charges. So certain things are extra. One very important thing to remember when you are visiting communities, if you're talking to a community, you want to ask not only what is included in your monthly fee, but you must ask, because some communities will not tell you unless you ask, what's not included, what's extra. At Whitney Place, we include all dining. We include care for those living in assisted living or memory care. We include all utilities, including phone, cable, and internet, weekly housekeeping and linen service and personal laundry, all activities, a very vibrant calendar of activities, and scheduled transportation. Care can include all of those things that I mentioned at the top of our conversation. So very important to remember, as I say, is to be sure to ask what's not included in your monthly fee. Will you sign a lease? And the answer is yes. Even in a monthly fee community like Whitney Place, you will sign a 12-month lease. That lease locks in your monthly fee for 12 months. So it's a protection for you. And some leases, and this is another important question to ask, some leases are breakable and some are not. And if they are breakable, of course, there are certain criteria in place for breaking a lease. So that's another very important question to ask. Communities differ quite a lot one from the other. There are a host of things, of course, that are the same, but in other ways, communities can differ quite a lot. So for example, there are some communities that are quite formal. The residents appreciate and enjoy a rather formal setting. So what do I mean by formal? As an example, jackets and ties are required in the dining room. And then there are other communities that are much less formal and much more casual, if I can use that word. PJs are not allowed in the dining room, but casual attire is. So that gives you just one example of how the culture and the environment can differ from one community to another. And that's another very important thing for you to determine. What kind of, what type of, what style community will appeal to you? And the way to know that is to make a list and then to determine whether a community is a good fit in general, you have a lot of homework to do. So you are going to make your list of what's important to you, and then you're going to start to make phone calls and visits. You do not want to move into a community that you have not visited, or that a loved one or a trusted friend has not visited on your behalf. And by the way, many folks move into senior living communities from out of state or from out of the area. They may live in Florida and they may have family, their adult children live in another state, and they feel that it's time and they want to relocate and be near their children. So they may be doing their research from out of state, or their loved ones may be doing their research on their behalf. And so their kids or their advisors or a friend needs to visit communities and report to that person. So it's very, very important. There are certain things that you are going to look for when you make contact with and visit a senior living community. So for example, if you pop in to a senior living community in the hopes of having a tour and you are told, oh, I'm sorry, there's no one that can help you, in my opinion, that's not a community that would meet my criteria, because customer service is extraordinarily important in senior living. And in my community, we find someone. If I, as a sales consultant, am not available to take someone who simply popped in on a tour, my receptionist will find someone, whether it's our executive director, our recreation director, anyone at all, will make themselves available to give a person a tour. So you want to pay attention to how you're treated. So not only are you looking for that kind of hospitality and that kind of level of customer service, but you're looking for cleanliness, critically important. If you walk into a community that looks to be not clean, or where there are odors, you don't want to waste your time, quite frankly. If I were that person, I would simply say, oh, you know what? I remember I left something on the stove, and I would turn around and walk out. It's not worth your time, because that speaks volume to the level of attention to detail and the priorities of that community. So you're looking for cleanliness everywhere. You're looking for a bright, fresh environment. And you're looking for energetic, smiling staff members, whether it's the executive director, the receptionist, the salesperson, a caregiver who you may be introduced to during your visit. You want to see engaged, smiling, energetic staff. So at Whitney Place, as I mentioned, everything is included. We have 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments with 2 full baths, and in our memory care neighborhood, which we call Tapestry, we offer private studios and companion suites. Whitney Place, just for your edification, is very competitively priced in our market. So there are some communities that are less expensive. There are some communities that are more expensive. There are some communities, there are 2 types of communities in terms of costs. One is called a private pay community. The other is a community that participates with Medicaid, otherwise known as Mass Health, or other subsidy programs, such as a program called PACE. So for folks for whom finances are constrained and cannot afford a private pay community, there are communities out there that participate with subsidy programs, and you want to do your research again and find out if that's something that you want to avail yourself of. And so when you call a community, you would ask, are you a private pay community, or do you participate with Mass Health, for example, or the PACE program? I would also, in the Walpole area, there is a wonderful, wonderful organization that you may well be aware of, but just in case, it is called HESCO, HESSCO, and they are a resource organization. They are a font of very important information that you can access at any time. And you can find their phone number on the web or in the phone book, but they're a fantastic organization for all kinds of information. Does insurance cover the cost for senior living in a senior living community? And the answer is yes and no. So what I mean by that is, if a person has long-term care insurance, then yes, long-term care insurance will cover all or part of the cost of assisted living, not independent living. So long-term care insurance is designed to provide financial support for a person who needs assistance with the activities of daily living, wherever they may be living. They may be still living in their private home. They may have moved into or are about to move into a senior living community. And so yes, long-term care insurance will cover all of or part of the costs. And you want to, as you begin to do your research, you want to speak to your carrier. If you do have long-term care insurance, you want to speak to your carrier and find out what are the criteria upon which monies are released to cover the cost of assisted living. It's important to know that Long-term care insurances vary widely from policy to policy. So you absolutely want to reach out to your carrier and learn about the nuts and bolts of your policy. There is a wonderful resource that very many people are unaware of, and it is a veteran's benefit that is called aid and attendance. If you are a veteran or the spouse of a veteran who served one day during wartime, did not need to see combat, but served during wartime, and you meet a financial and a medical or health-related set of criteria, you would be eligible for aid and attendance. It can range anywhere from $1,200 or $1,300 a month for a surviving spouse to close to $2,500 a month for a veteran and their spouse. So you absolutely want to look into that. The Veterans Agency in your town is a great place to go for information. Medicare health insurance does not contribute to the cost of living in senior living communities unless you are returning from the hospital or rehab and are in need of therapies. So for example, if you fell and broke a bone and you then went to rehab and you're ready for discharge back to your senior living community and would benefit from some additional physical therapy, and the doctor orders that for you, then absolutely Medicare will cover the cost of that physical therapy. But otherwise, health insurance does not contribute to the cost of senior living. I began to cover this earlier in the conversation, but I want to revisit it. When is the right time? So again, one of the biggest misconceptions out there. I've heard people say to me, and you may be one of them, you're gonna have to drag me out of here. I ain't leaving. Or you're gonna have to take me out of here in a box. I'm never moving to senior living. And many people of that mindset, their only reference for senior living is, as I said earlier, a nursing home, which used to be not such wonderful places. Thank goodness nursing homes, and there are really wonderful ones out there, thank goodness they exist, because when they're necessary, they're necessary. But short of that, you don't want to wait for a crisis. And here's what happens if you wait for a crisis. First of all, you lose control. Where you go and when you go is dictated by other factors and other people. So your control and your autonomy and your power is really taken out of your hands. It may be your kids, it may be a guardian, it may be a conservator, it may be someone other than you who is going to decide where you go. It will depend on availability. So you may very well end up in a community that would not have been your choice. When you are proactive, you decide, you are in control. You will identify maybe 2 communities that are a good fit for you. So when you're ready, you can put the wheels in motion to make that move. And by the way, there are wonderful professionals and services out there that you can tap into to make your move so much easier. So one of the main reasons that people choose not to make the move is because they're overwhelmed by the logistics. I've lived in this house for 50 years. Every inch is filled with stuff. I can't imagine how I would possibly make this move. Well, there are people called senior move managers. These are professionals who specialize in working with seniors as they make this transition in their life. And so a senior move manager will come into your home, help you determine what furniture and art and objects and so forth to take with you to your new community, and what to do, help you decide what to do with all the rest. And then in many cases, they will do it. So what I mean by that is you'll decide to take that sofa and those chairs and those tables and lamps and so forth, and you'll earmark all of those things that are going to go with you to your new home. Well, what about those chairs and that cabinet and that hutch and so forth? You may donate those things. You may be giving them to family members or friends. And a senior move manager can often come to your home with a truck and take care of moving all of those things out. So please don't let a feeling of being overwhelmed stand in the way of you making what could be an absolutely wonderful move. There are people to assist you. So that's kind of it. I hope that I gave you a good overview. And I would imagine that and hope that you have lots of questions. I will again give you my contact information. I'm so happy to talk to folks and help them become educated and well-informed, and help them make what can be a difficult decision. But with the right support, it can be a much easier decision. So again, my name is Jodi Tolman. My email address is JT, like Tom, OLMAN, @salmon, like the fish, health.com. jtolman@salmonhealth.com. And you can feel free to call me on my cell phone, which is 339-364-0138. I so appreciate your time. I so appreciate your interest, and I would be very happy to assist you in any way I can. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Jodi. I just want to say, if anybody does have any questions, because we did had some join, we are being recorded by Walpole Media. So I just want to make that known. And then I don't know if you want to see if anybody has any questions.
Wonderful.
No questions?
Well, as I've said, feel free to reach out at any time. I want to thank Walpole Council on Aging, one of the most wonderful councils on aging there is, and I've been to a bunch of them. I want to thank Walpole Media for recording and airing this presentation. And most importantly, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jodi. Have a great day.
You too, everybody. Bye-bye.